Hello, all of you delightful beings out there, and welcome to the stream. I am Razim, and this is DevTales, where we're going to be working on our SCAR system, or Stories and Creatures in Alternate Realities. It is a tabletop system for playing as Pokemon, Digimon, monsters from Monster Hunter, and more, and is available for open playtest, so you all can go check it out. It's currently available on our Discord as well as over on itch.io. But we also have Conrade here working on art in the bottom left. He's working on a new model today. And then in the upper left, we've got Placid Plastic Duck Simulator. Because ducks. Quack.
Quack.
So, I am joined here by, I've got Era and Taldarius here to help with the dev work. We got Matteo listening in to learn a bit, because he's going to be running a SCAR campaign in the very near future. Like next week. And then we've got our xConrade here as well.
Hey.
Or I guess today, Noodle.
Yeah.
Nah, still xConrade.
Yeah, Pikash, the pressure isn't felt, I promise.
It is Dragon Appreciation Day, so I decided to put up my dragon icon today.
Alright, so I guess first things first, we can go through some of the to-do list here. Or at least some of the discussion points that I put in here. We'll skip this first one because that was from Seda, and I'd rather him be here for that discussion. He says he'll be on in a bit. Next one on the list, do we want to make teleportation a primeval feature? What I'm thinking with that is we would reduce the cost for the move variety of it, but then there will be a teleportation primeval feature for, well, mostly like Abra and the like that can teleport very long distances as opposed to the limits that moves have.
So are you proposing, like, giving access to a narrative teleport rather than a hard-defined teleport?
It would still have hard-to-find stuff to it. Like, actual mechanics behind it. It's just, it'll be for far more, longer range than, what is normally available via moves. Also, apparently there's been some new fan art that's been done. You did not mention this, Era.
Because we were in between.
Ah, well, let me bring that up real quick. We'll admire this work by Ido first. We'll go with big screen for this again.
Show it to big screen.
Whoosh.
Waiting for stream to catch up.
I am feeding it through Discord, by the way, Matteo. Apparently, Aquarelle is showing... it drew a portrait of Verdant and is showing it to Charmander Verdant.
Aquarelle got a kiss.
How cute.
It looks really nice, Ido. Thank you.
It is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was one thing that I was contemplating, something that deals with miles as opposed to feet.
All right. So, in that case, what do we want? Basically, like, what do we want the draw of the move version to be then?
Well,
What's the draw there?
the primeval
would just-
feature could be used in combat, but I think the move one would be cheaper, and it can be used at the same time as a move. It's a part of a move.
Can I make the minor suggestion that if you do this, you just make the long range teleportation take longer?
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Making them so that way they're not really viable in battle.
That's a good idea.
But could be used if you have 10 turns to sit there and cast. Ritual casting. You know, take 10 times longer to get way further.
Gareth, I do not understand your question there. Sorry. But either way, welcome in. But yeah, I'm good with that. This is something that takes longer to use, so it would not be usable in combat unless, like you said, you're taking 10 minutes. I know the move version does allow you to take one person with you, I believe we put it. The teleportation primeval feature would allow you to have more. But yeah, the main difference is just you can go further and take more people, but it takes longer as opposed to the move version.
Yeah. By the way, teleport does not have an automatic amount that you can bring with you or a limit to the amount of people it could bring with you. So if you want to teleport more than one person, you probably have to have, like, target additional ally on it or whatever.
That was my assumption. I didn't know you could bring one person with at all. I thought it was 0. Just you.
I thought
yeah.
so too. It's been a while since I wrote that section, so... But you were saying in the one shot that you could take one person with you, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I didn't remember if I wrote anything on that, so I guess I didn't.
Nope. The special thing is that outside of combat, you get twice the range.
Liam, please check your DMs if you will.
That's the special thing.
We would just have to make sure that if you do it as a primeval feature, that you add enough, or that there's enough things for it to be a full list.
Yeah, that is definitely a thing that we gotta figure out. I try to have about 5 minimum. I'm okay with going with 4 different things, but... And I kind of wrote the ranges together.
Well, something to consider after a proposal's up, I guess. I'm not against it, more or less. I can see application. I don't know about Tal, though.
I can definitely see an application for it. I just want to make sure we aren't relegating one or the other to just being the "why would you do this" option.
Yeah, no, that's why I was like, that's why I think long-range teleportation should take several rounds instead of being able to be moved. Because that would illegitimize one.
Yeah, that
So-
makes a lot of sense.
If you... Anyways, I can imagine teleporting longer distances probably takes you a minute or two to figure out how you're doing right. Walking fly blocks takes 2 seconds on Google. Taking an 18-hour car ride takes usually a few more minutes looking up things.
Generally, yeah.
Unless we're dealing with furries who will just pop on their GPS and go.
Alright, so go ahead and note that down, Raharu. Basically, that teleportation is approved, and I will figure that out later then, or we'll come back to it, one of the two.
Okay.
So next up here, do we want to add a grasping mechanic for telekinesis? Including like a fine-tuned grasping. When I mean fine-tuned, like, the best example I could think of is an upgrade for... Like, obviously, you can pick it up and manipulate an item, but something more like being able to actually, like, pick a lock, for example. Granted, the difficulty for that would probably be very much increased, because there's a lot more to it than just putting the pick in the lock, but
I'm giving big game reviewer energy right now.
So basically, what you mean to have a more
Precise control.
precise
Yeah.
control when it comes to the telekinesis. Yeah, I think that makes
Yeah.
sense.
being able to, like, one thing that brought this up to me was Scruff using his shadow claws to basically do sign language with somebody else. So that would be under the fine-tuned control.
I guess Verdant's sitting there constantly writing with his brain instead of physically writing would also count in that section.
Yes.
And drawing pictures.
Yeah, actually.
I'm also fine with this because fine control takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alright. Then the question for that is, how much would we want to make it cost?
Question. Would the fine control thing also let you utilize weapons with telekinesis?
My base assumption would be no.
Yeah, right now I would say, like, weapons... We can absolutely add another thing, an upgrade for weapons to be usable, like, properly, because right now you could just, you know, I pick up weapon and throw it at them. Or bash them with it, but it wouldn't be fine enough to actually be counted as using a weapon. Instead, it's an improvised attack.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was asking for with the, having fine control now.
I would say fine control and weapon usage would be separate. Because fine control is basically you got fingers that you can use, whereas weapon usage is also strength and muscle memory and so on and so forth.
Question, are there going to be negatives for using it?
For...
Or is that one of those ST calls? Instead of using your hands, say you were, as your example was, picking a lock. Well, you're going to be able to do that at range, but you said there would be a negative. Would this apply across the board? Is there just going to be a default negative for you doing fine-tune control things with your telekinesis? Or is that an ST situational situation?
I'm thinking we'll recommend that difficulty be increased. However, it is up to the storyteller. It's one of those, we recommend doing this, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that in every case.
Somewhere in the 20 range sound good, Tal? Or you want to go lower down to like 15?
Hey,
What's up?
I gotta go. You guys have a good stream.
Bye.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye, Mario.
Bye.
Okay, I was thinking about it. Like, this lets you do some things at a range, which is very nice.
Yes.
But is it... Because... Let me look at what a couple of the other 20 XP ones we have are.
Because... Oh, I'm in the wrong duck. Too many tabs.
So if I go to Primeval Features... Faster than fastballs is 20, so let's look at what that does specifically. Increases your natural soak by 1. So
This is
you gotta
about
purchase
the
that
equivalent of
multiple
going from
times.
medium to long range in the moves.
Yeah. And another 20 cost is the full transformation one for transformation.
Another one is being able to lift up a creature that is equal to you in size.
I don't think it should be as cheap as 15, but I'm not sure if it's exactly a 20. It might be like an 18 or something.
You could go 18, that's the middle ground.
I'm definitely feeling that it should be at least 20. Considering the amount of things that we cannot foresee that they could come up with to use this for, like the uses for it that we've seen so far are relatively minor. You know, sign language, drawing and writing notes, etc. But there's also the potential for some pretty crazy things that they could do with this.
Well, okay, so are we like trying to take into account like people trying to basically do the create water in people's lungs kind of thing?
Yes. That is definitely one of those kinds of situations that that we can't foresee. And while I know not everybody's going to go that route with something like this, it is still a very powerful thing. But if I am in the minority on this, then I'm in the minority on that.
If we're trying to take into account, like, you know, basically the create water in people's lungs kind of things that you could do with this, then, like, yeah, I could definitely see it being a 20.
What thoughts do you have on that?
My brain's trying to brain. Because I like 18 personally. I do see the argument, but whenever it comes to I'm creating water in the lungs of somebody with create water, it's always that the ST needs to put their foot down at some point and be like, no. Just no. And then in my head, I heard somebody say, lungs are a container.
Yeah, but you need to have line of sight. Well, tell me how you're getting line of sight into his lungs from a distance.
Okay, I'd like to see you walk up to that dragon, stick your head in his mouth, and look down his throat. Then I'll let you cast that. If you survive.
You know, yeah, we can put a note in there that the storyteller has final say on whether you can do whatever action you're wanting to do. Because along the lines of that, you know, fine tune, you grab their windpipe and twist it, and there you go. And just
Yeah, that's why I was asking about if
yeah,
we were trying to take into account the whole, like, you know.
Water in the lungs.
yeah.
Cool, I didn't know you could see underneath the skin to specifically grab the windpipe. It seems that you might have grabbed something else instead, and now you got a really madman charging you. Congratulations. With an upside-down Adam's apple.
Alright, then I think we'll leave it at 18 and just put in a note that your storyteller has final say on whether you're able to achieve whatever you're trying to do.
Cost 18.
Yes. For fine-tune control. under telekinesis.
Yeah.
So since it was brought up, do we want to add in a option of using weapons with it?
Well, I mean, it is an entire archetype.
No reason not to. More reason to, just for fun.
Yeah, yeah. In that case, what kind of mechanics do we want on that? And
Well,
what
they
kind
would
of
still need the
cost?
relevant. They would still need the relevant weapon feat.
You know, I think I think for the sake of simplicity, we should we should just make it it functions the same as you yourself wielding a weapon, so you need the feet and all that. And you are limited to however many you can actually hold normally. So we don't have somebody that's like, well, I've got multi-lift, so I could absolutely hold up 5 swords and swing them all together.
Honestly, while also thinking about this, I was literally just thinking of that one Jedi.
You know, the one Jedi that's a Jedi that uses the Force. Probably a lightsaber.
I think it's bad that I
No,
know
there-
exactly which Jedi.
Yeah, there's literally one blind Jedi that just has like 5 orbiting, or like 3 orbiting. Or not Jedi. I
Lightsabers.
think it was a. Well, I know there was multiple. I'm thinking of one of the Jedi ones, but I also know there was a Sith that did it. That just literally had orbiting lightsabers around her.
I was first thinking of General Grievous, but then I remember that he's not using telekinesis.
Yeah. Like,
No.
Darth Traya in particular was like a really famous Sith who did it. And she
There are
was
a
a
few.
Jedi, so, you know.
Alright, adding a low priority discussion point. Multi-limbs.
I think we should skip low priority tonight, though.
Oh yeah. I'm just putting it on the list so we remember to revisit that at some point in the future.
Big tail, best tail.
It's also funny how Gib-Gab immediately knew Krya and Darth Traya.
Having 4 wings isn't gonna change anything, Gib-Gab. We're talking about like 4 arms for using 4 weapons. Because while rare, those kinds of things do come up. Like Machoke. Or Machamp, whichever one.
Machamp.
Machamp.
Also, I'm literally. Oh my god! Okay. Look, there was. All right. Here's just me. So, in my old group, there was someone who every single Star Wars game played a Kalish and tried to make himself General Grievous. Every single one. We literally had to ban him from playing Kalish because every single time he tried to make himself General Grievous.
You'd think that would get boring after a while.
He did this for 5 years straight before we had to go get my guy. Can you please make a character that isn't just General Grievous?
There are a lot of players out there that just play the same character.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Well, no,
they
you-
have different names, but like Timber, for example, I know he's played Timber as he is in ATA about 15 times.
Oh, yeah. No, like, he'll play other characters. It was just, if it was Star Wars related, he would be the biggest General Grievous fanboy possible.
You're just reminding me of a guy that I played with. His character pulled out his eyeball to stick in a gemstone once. His functioning eyeball for a gemstone that had no magic. And he sounds like somebody that would do the same thing.
I know there was one player that we had that every single time they made a character, it was a kobold that was some form of magic item interested character. Most often the artificing kind of variety.
Bear in mind, we all have
time.
our tropes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we do.
Big tail. Big tail, best tail.
No, it was just funny to me because it was literally every single time General Grievous.
Well, with him, it was always same personality, same motivation, same everything, just different name, different color. Which isn't, if you're enjoying it, go for it, but I can't do that.
Says the GM that's trying to make Spike into a dad.
You can always trust Nova to parent instead.
No.
Yeah, you can give up the egg. I was
Tree
expecting
Daddy gave him
everybody
that
to. I was expecting everybody to go look for the egg. You were just the most connected to Tree Daddy.
True.
You decided to go off by yourself? It could have been a discussion of who takes the egg. I just put an egg there and had you called to it. I expected you to not split the party. Honestly, I expected Narashi to wind up with the egg.
Ah, Zim. You expected the party to do something you didn't want, or you wanted it to do.
No, that was your first mistake.
True,
Yeah.
true.
Like, I'm an
fair.
experienced player, and I knew how bad of an idea it was, and I still did it, because obviously, my character is not well-versed in that.
I am just saying, you did not have to raise the egg. And you still
Look.
don't.
Tree Daddy gave him an egg.
You will
Tree
give
Daddy
me-
called him, therefore he feels responsible now.
You will give me an egg.
I mean, if you insist, Raharu, come here.
Ah.
But only one.
But anyways,
Rookie numbers.
what cost do we want to have for them to be able to wield a weapon with their telekinesis?
Oh, that's totally a 25.
Considering everything else that is required with it, because they also have to have the weapon feat, they have to get into telekinesis in the first place. Granted, they could just have it floating directly around them, so, but at the least, they've got to get the 20... There's at least a 50 XP investment.
Look, I think being able to walk around like a fucking Jedi, throwing weapons and telekinetically grabbing them and stabbing them into someone's back, that is worth a lot of XP alone, just that.
I'm actually going to agree with the 25, especially since with telekinesis, you can fight with a melee weapon at range.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Alright.
Yeah, it's a 25.
We'll go with 25 on it. Hey Tyrion, welcome in. Alternative idea. What if they have it where they can only... Because I could see some people wanting it just... They've got it within 5 feet of them. We make it like 10 or 15 for the base cost, and then if they wanted to utilize the range that they've purchased for the primeval feature, then it'll total up to the 25.
Thoughts, Tal?
Sorry, just processing.
Yeah.
Tyrion, no. The ducks are just it's a game called Placid Plastic Duck Simulator. We just have it there for you guys to have something to look at other than, you know. It also helps me to have something to just kind of glance up at with my ADHD, you know. But yeah, it's not actually using names automatically from the chat. I can name them. We have a thing through Streamloots where you can use the Name a Thing card, or you can tip $5 and get a duck named whatever you want. Within reason.
It has to be, quote, stream appropriate, unquote.
Yeah.
But yeah. Because, like, them being able to wield it where it is right next to them is not that powerful. Definitely agree about them being able to, you know, wield a melee weapon at range is powerful. But some people might not want to go that far.
I think so long as being able to use it at range totals up to 25, it's fine.
Alright, so make note, Raharu. It'll be, I'll say 12, for being able to wield a melee weapon with telekinesis in melee range. And then totaling up to 25 with an upgrade for being able to use the melee weapon at range with the telekinesis. Let me know when you got all that.
Got it.
Alright, so that discussion point is finished. Let's delete it. We already got teleportation discussed. Next up, Prime. I feel like we should make that a standard action. Maybe we could do an upgrade where it is reduced, you know, a feat upgrade where it's reduced to a quick action. But by default, it kind of gets silly when, especially at the beginning of a campaign, when literally every turn people are using Prime just because it's like, well, I got no other quick actions to use. Plus, it is kind of powerful if you have the primeval feature, and it is still powerful without the primeval feature, but it's especially powerful with the primeval feature.
True.
So, thoughts on that?
Tyler, are we doing that thing where we're waiting for each other to talk while we think?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Well, because I like to come up with like an actual thing to say.
And I've been waiting for your opinion on some of these things because you're better at verbose than I am. Because I'm not against it, but we don't have very many quick actions that people can do, especially in the early game to begin with. So
I don't think we need to have a lot of quick actions.
though somebody did, or Raijin was kind of going through all that and pointed out some flaws with it being a quick action at the same time. So it's like,
Yeah.
So I've heard
So
a few people mention things that are a little silly.
So let's go ahead and go through what it actually does. So if they prime currently, like if we change it to a standard action, that's plus 10, right?
Yep.
So standard action plus 10. Let's combine that with just discuss this with initiative burst, because obviously that'll have the most implications for this. Initiative burst is 15 for a quick action.
I would be willing to drop that back to a 10 for... I would be willing to drop that back to a 10. Yeah, I bumped it up to 15 because it was especially powerful, but I don't think that's the right way to have gone for balancing this.
Yeah. So, effectively with that, if we change it to a standard action, the trade-off would be lose one standard action this turn, gain a quick action in a subsequent turn. While also benefiting from having, a higher initiative. If, you can benefit from that. That would be what the base one. Is that what we want to be doing? Just, conceptually.
It is the equivalent of a exchange down. Which is common to most action economy-based tabletop RPGs.
While that is one use for it, that is the default use for the initiative primeval feature. You also we also have to take into consideration things like overtake, where you can literally, sure, you're trading in a standard action, but you can wind up having 2 full turns. Which, that alone is a very powerful ability. There's also, you can make your next movement maneuver not trigger attacks of opportunity. You can choose to move between 2 people's turns. You can use a quick action between 2 people's turns. While the initiative burst itself is relatively weak and is a trade down, the other options that you get with that primeval feature that you can upgrade into, those are very powerful abilities.
Yeah. One thing I do want to bring up, though, is for the Prime, I don't want all of our consideration to be... Obviously, it does need to be considered, but I don't want all of our consideration to be based around a relatively expensive feature tree. Because, yes, we should take into account that. However, if you're going down that feature tree, you're more likely to do things like get initiative through initiative increasing moves or something instead. Because you could get up to 30 with a standard action there.
That is another thing to consider.
Maybe we just need to reconsider what the limitations are to initiative burst. The primeval feature, then.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Go over the things in initiative burst again and make sure that they're actually somewhat balanced. Because it sounds like one of the problems is that the boosting in initiative makes this one primeval feature too strong. It might just be that the primeval feature needs adjustment instead of the base rules.
While I somewhat agree on that, the main reason why I'm bringing up the prime maneuver being changed is just because it does get silly when, oh, I've got nothing else. Alright, quick action, let's do it. And literally
Well, I was
everybody
doing
in
it.
the party is doing it.
I was literally doing it because I wanted a higher initiative.
But it is something that people will do just because it's like, well, I have the action. I don't get anything for not doing it. Because there's no
Yeah.
action rollover, so use it. All right, so that does get silly, and we probably should do something to address that. What else?
Maybe what we do with Prime instead is change it to basically a self-buff action. So at the least, it only allows you to increase up to 6.
So like self buff +1 initiative.
Yeah. Because we do have a, no, actually, I don't think we do for moves, do we?
Have what for moves?
A stat change for initiative. Do we have that?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So yeah, instead it could...
Costs 24 to get +1 to it.
$24 to get +1?
24 XP to get +1 to initiative.
That's one additional initiative die.
No, that is...
Oh, just one?
that is
plus
an-
10, but +1 to the initiative stat change.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's 24 XP, consider you also have to purchase the guaranteed.
Putting a limit on Prime sounds like a smart idea.
Yeah, considering it does the same thing as something that you can put on a move that costs 24 XP, that is making me lean even more towards making it a standard action instead of a quick.
That would also limit what you could do with the primeval feature.
Yep. If you, for example, for the primeval feature though, people are able to use effectively their stat changes to eat the cost of it, right? Like if they have stat changes to initiative.
Run that by me again?
They are effectively able to. Because one thing that I was thinking of is initiative stat changes are a little bit, what's the word for it? Initiative stat changes are a little bit weird to keep track of, but are they allowed to, like, let's say I want to overtake, but a lot of my initiative is coming from the fact I have +6 to my initiative stat change. Can I do that? Like, let's say I have like I got 10 on my initiative roll, and I got 60 through stat changes, and I'm at 70 effective, and someone's at 20 initiative. Can I overtake them and have my initiative through the stat change system?
Yes.
What would that leave my stat change initiative at the end of the turn then? Because I've gone from 70 to 35.
So on that front, as of right now, that as of right now, you just have those stat changes still, but it does not consume them.
Okay. So if I want to properly utilize that, what I'd need to do is both have a stat change increaser and a stat change decreaser to remove the stacks and then put them back on so I could benefit from them again?
As of right now, yes.
Okay,
We
that's
can
ridiculous. We
absolutely-
need to change that.
Yeah, we can adjust that.
Well, I'm more going through this because it's like, okay, how does this even function if this is what we're going to be changing it into? On an aside, what we could do is make the prime maneuver consume initiative change stacks
Be
and
right
just
back in here.
merge it into your base initiative now.
By the way, hi, Sarah.
Good
Sarah.
evening.
Oh, hey, Seda.
It's not the best option, but it is an option.
I'd definitely be okay with that, though it would obviously mean that they would have to have a means of increasing their, giving themselves a stat change to even use the maneuver.
Well, I'm saying as a second, because we currently, the secondary we have for using it as a standard action is you can increase your initiative standing by 10, or you can re-roll your combat initiative. So, why not, instead of allowing them to re-roll their combat initiative, you could use it to consume your initiative change stacks and add it to your initiative. That way you could choose between getting 10 with a standard action, which is like, subpar, but you could still do it. Or if you have built up initiative stat changes, you can instead choose to change all of that into actual initiative now. Just base and reset your initiative change stacks, and you could start building it up again.
So are you suggesting adding another ability to the prime maneuver instead of
I'm saying replacing the combat initiative reroll.
I definitely want to keep the reroll. The reason for that is if somebody, with the rules as written right now, it is possible to be sent into basically initiative crash, where you are in the negatives on your initiative, and then you literally can't do anything except for prime to reset it.
Well, re-rolling your combat initiative, technically speaking, doesn't fix that if you still get slapped with, -6 initiative stat change.
We can have, I would say we can update it to, it also removes a, well, they also can use cleanse with that as well, but they gotta do one or the other if they're...
Yeah, well,
in the
cleanse only
negatives.
removes -1, I think, right? Or did we change cleanse to remove all of one stack? 'Cause I thought it only removed one.
No, it is just one right now.
Yeah. We were saying negative stat change towards 0 by 1. Yeah. So, yeah, you'd effectively have to. Yeah.
On an aside, really quick, sorry to cut in. I actually kind of disagree with initiative crash being a thing. it would be really easy to lock somebody down and just make it so that way they can't play.
That is true. I was also thinking about that, but it just wasn't the current discussion.
Yeah, just as a
Well-
side note, I just want to throw it on the table.
In that case, we can make the prime where it'll also remove any debuffs to initiative. So that way they reset their initiative and they have one action left.
Wouldn't that also make debuffing the opponent's initiative be useless because it would basically just, you would do all that work and then they would do one action with no roll and no resource usage and it's all reset?
Well, how do we want to handle this stuff then?
Well,
Because part of the reason why initiative crash exists is if they are using the initiative primeval feature, they have that the initiative primeval feature. They've got to consider, okay, I am using my initiative standing, which makes me more vulnerable to being put into crash.
You could just apply the crash only to people using that particular thing instead.
well,
That primeval
because
feature.
also, do we need to do initiative crash if instead your initiative can go negative, but that doesn't affect your ability to do things? Because that way, like let's say they, you're trying to utilize your initiative stuff, and you get really low, and someone looks at you and gives you -3 to initiative because they were waiting for you to do that, and now you're at -25. You got a lot of work to do before you get back up into positives, much less positive enough to be able to use your initiative gimmicks again. Because that would basically lock you out of utilizing your gimmick. So, is completely locking them out of the ability to do things, like, I feel like that's enough of a punishment for doing that, but... Because it basically turns off the entire feat tree.
We got a lot of rethinking to do over initiative, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, just from the... Give me the Sparks Note version of Initiative Crash just so I make sure that what I'm hearing I'm understanding correctly.
Okay. There's a lot that is going into this. We've got the prime maneuver, which allows you to add initiative.
Hold on, Zim.
What?
He just wants to know the initiative crash thing. So...
Well, the reason why I'm giving... I feel like context is important on this one. But for initiative crash... let me find where it is. Here it is. It's on page 77. When in the negative for your initiative standing, you are only able to take one of two actions on your turn. You may use the prime maneuver to reset your combat initiative, or you may use cleanse to remove your initiative debuff. Whichever of these actions you take will be the entirety of your turn and is done at the end of the round and thus go into effect at the start of the next round. Originally, if your initiative is in the negatives, you'd still be able to do things. But
Yeah, I'm personally not a big fan of that, because that can have the potential to take a lot of player agency out of the picture. And like I think it was like as either Arrow or Talieros pointed out, like, if you are very negative in the initiative standing and it takes you a couple turns to claw your way back up, that's just not going to be a fun combat encounter for someone as a player. Um, I I would be inclined to leave it simple as, like, if your initiative standing is quote unquote negative, you're just at the bottom of the initiative turn order. Punishing someone for having a negative initiative standing for whatever reason just feels like just slapping mud in the face.
Well, because also if the point of it was to punish people for using, their initiative stuff too much, then, like, basically turning off the feature does feel like it is, a pretty large punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the rule in play, it's not overly difficult to make a character whose whole shtick is to remove somebody's initiative and drive them negative. So they have to use their entire turn to get rid of it, and then the next turn that person comes around again, they just drop that person's initiative back into the negatives again.
Yeah.
That person doesn't get to
Reminder:
play.
you can only effectively get rid of 20 at a time, also, and you can remove up to 30 at a time.
Still, that would be a not fun situation to be in. At least if you're the person being targeted.
But you're talking about initiative related features in the context of this, correct?
That was our main topic of discussion currently, but now I think we're just discussing initiative crash as a thing.
Because the way the conversation went is that we're rethinking the prime maneuver, but there's the initiative primeval feature, and it's kind of a layered issue.
Yeah, there's a... This is a multifold problem.
Because the potential issue that... actually, let me ask the question this way. For someone who does not have any of the initiative-related features, what tools would they have to potentially claw themselves out of a situation? Because I'm assuming the
Prime.
debuffs that could be applied to initiative can apply to all players equally.
Yes. Right now, the options that they have are using the prime maneuver to try and reset their combat initiative, or using cleanse to remove the debuff.
Yeah, which basically means if you do both, you would remove 10. You would remove one stage, which is 10 initiative, from yourself, like of the negative, and then you could prime to either one, try and reroll if you had like a really low result, or two, just gain 10. Which means that if you had a decent result and you got put into the negatives anyway, because someone was basically just spamming the negatives on you, and they got it 2 turns in a row, so now you're at like minus 60. You can only gain, technically speaking, 20 a turn, and they can potentially apply 30 per turn with just one move. So you can be kept in debt forever so long as they keep getting past your soul save. And even if, they fail a turn or two, they basically send you right back into debt anyway.
Insert capitalism joke here. Obligatory. But the primeval feature, the initiative burst primeval feature, basically relies on the ability for you to boost your own initiative. And there has to be a drawback for them specifically. So it's a weird situation.
I mean, being in the negatives, I mean, that does turn off the entire primeval feature altogether. So we could do away with initiative crash.
Yeah, I feel like when you guys are trying to find ways to combat the potential power creep of the initiative related primeval feature, introducing a mechanic that could be punishing to all players who don't even go down that path does not seem the right way to go about it.
I
It
think we're
just-
fine removing crash.
Part of why, but part of the thing there is like, okay, they go after you. Cool. Nothing else for the initiative debuff?
I mean, your turn order can be very advantageous or disadvantageous. There was a reason why I was trying to move Jace up the initiative after he got up there. Being able to manipulate your turn, or being able to manipulate the turn order, is kind of unheard of in most ttrpgs to begin with, so
Should we just go ahead and do away with all initiative changing stuff altogether? I think that's worthy of something to discuss. The reason it was in there in the first place was simply for the sake of, it was simply for the sake of, things like quick attack and whatnot. It works differently than quick attack, but that's why we put it in there in the first place.
I mean, I like it being there because it basically opens up like entire strategies. Like, I'll say this one because I know I've discussed this one once or twice before. Vayne in particular has one thing where he temporarily reduces his initiative while stat change like Scene increasing his initiative. So that way, when it falls off, he will, like, you know, when it's on, he'll take a turn behind someone, and then when it falls off, he'll effectively get a plus 30 in change. And then, you know, would go ahead of someone, and because they haven't taken their turn again yet, they still have all the hits done from the previous turn. So, there are interesting combat strategies you can do from having this.
Temp stat changes are another thing altogether. I personally just want to do away with all of them. They get complicated. Like, yeah, it's an interesting strategy, but it's also... yeah. It's a lot more to track. But that's a whole other thing.
as far as initiative's concerned, I do like the ability to boost my own initiative. I think Prime is fine. I think the moves are fine. I just didn't like initiative crash, and I think we need to re-go over the primeval feature for it.
Yeah,
And possibly,
I mean, I think initiative crash is just the only thing that I'm.
yeah.
Okay, so
But that's not something
Raharu,
we have to do now.
note
Go ahead.
down that we're removing initiative crash. We can at least get rid of that.
Noted.
As for Prime, Prime definitely needs to be changed. Because I wasn't even, I was wanting it changed in the first place, but I wasn't even considering the whole aspect of initiative stat changes. Right now, there is no point in having an initiative stat buff when you can just... oh yeah, quick action, no XP cost, cool. Does the exact same thing as buff, except better. So
I mean, that's also why I was thinking about having Prime interact with those and just, like, consume your stat changes and add it to the base.
oh, welcome back, Conrad.
Because that would, you know, give bonuses. Especially considering that stat changers can go to teammates as well, and I don't want to discount that, because you could basically make it so that way, your entire party is going faster and higher in the turn order.
You're right. It can be applied to others. But it still feels very underwhelming when all your party is using Prime anyways.
Well, okay, I'm just trying to say for keeping the stat changes there in the first place, like initiative as
Okay.
a stat changer.
Yeah, we're good with that.
Okay, so
But how do we adjust Prime so it doesn't... The only advantage of the initiative stat changer is it can be used on allies over just using Prime. And I guess you could spend more XP to bump it up to, 2 or 3, but that's still... Looking at just one change of initiative standing, technically Prime is just outright better. Because if you buff yourself with the initiative stat change, somebody could come in and use a move to remove that buff. Which thus puts it back at just simply being worse than Prime.
Well, I mean, with this, if this might be a little bit apples to oranges, but I do want to bring up that we have other things that are in the maneuver section that are just kind of better than the stat change, and the stat change can be removed. Like the aim maneuver, that is decreasing your difficulty is far more impactful than adding a single more dice.
That is true as well, and aim is another one that we should probably look at some point.
Okay, well, the thing that I'm trying to bring up
we're...
is this is currently how the standard of the system is working, of maneuvers being generally really useful and better than baseline moves. Because again, we're talking about bare minimum baseline moves here. However, the moves tend to get better when they're no longer baseline. So are we going to continue nerfing things or changing things around until maneuvers are worse than even baseline moves? Or are we just going to accept that maneuvers are sometimes going to be better than the bare minimum baseline move?
I'm fine with Prime existing. I actually think I might be fine with it. Okay.
We're not
Go
talking
ahead.
about whether it exists or not.
I was going to say move it to a standard action. I think it'd be alright.
Okay.
But let me finish. But no, let's just make it a standard action. I think that's fine. I don't think it needs to be a quick action. Most of the maneuvers are standard actions. There are very few that are quick actions without a feat, so I don't see why we should leave it as a quick action.
I would be okay with at least starting with it being a standard action and see how it works in play.
All right. But I just wanted to point out with the whole, because, then you went, oh, aim's another one we're going to have to talk about. I just want to point out that if we keep nerfing things to be worse, or discussing nerfing things until they're worse than baseline moves...
It's not a matter of making them worse, it's a matter of making them at least balanced.
Okay, but define where you want the balance to be.
I want the move to still feel useful. Because if somebody goes in the door and it's impossible and it's still worse, then they're just gonna leave and not continue down that route, even if it does get better later.
Okay, so because again, the thing with moves is that they can be shared around. Once you have gotten to the top of the turn order or whatever, you can start also giving out free initiative to your allies. And I think that that is a good and important part of remembering that even if they technically do a similar thing and almost the same thing, each of prime and the initiative change, stat change, each does things that the other one doesn't.
Yes.
You can't share prime with other people.
But is the ability to share something with somebody else worth 24 XP?
Considering that for 24 XP, because we also have to keep caps in mind, by the time you get to 10 attribute points, that's a quick action. Or maybe, actually, no, is that... Because it goes 15 and then 30, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's 15 then 30.
So, by the time that you get to 10 attribute points, that is a quick action.
I would say, without any scaling on the maneuvers, Prime in particular, by the time you start getting into 10 attribute points and later, it's actually going to start being comparatively very weak to move options, even if it were a quick action.
Yeah, and it would be the move that is the quick action currently. And for it being a quick action, like, at the 10 attribute range, which is like, our version of being like, you're out of baby level 1 stage, is you can put for 24 XP, the +1 initiative change, and have 6 XP left over for a quick action, and have it affect an additional ally. So for 30 XP quick action, you, at 10 attributes, you can affect yourself and an adjacent ally and give both of you +1 initiative.
Okay, so what are you arguing for here, Tao? Because you're
I'm
pointing out
saying-
all this, what are you arguing for?
My argument is that initiative stat changers, because it's a move, have multiple, has a benefit of it. And you were asking me if 24 XP was worth the ability to give it to an ally. And I brought up, well, we have to keep move caps in mind. So 24 XP right there, at 10 attributes, turns into a quick action. So is it worth 24 XP to, as a quick action, give +10 initiative to yourself or an adjacent ally? And I think yes.
Okay, so are you against making Prime a standard?
No.
Then this discussion is moot.
The discussion was, because we basically jumped around a lot, but the discussion was still based off of keeping, because you were talking about making sure that both things should have a reason to exist. And that's what this was based around, and not wanting one to feel like it's useless and one to feel like it's got everything. Because you said you don't want people to go into the door on something and go, well, why would I do this when this is just clearly better? And I was bringing up, it's not just clearly better because there's nuance to this. So, with that part of the discussion in mind, no, this is not moot. This is me saying that quick action stat changers still have a place with Prime. And yes, I am fine with moving Prime to being being a standard action. But I'm also just pointing out that we should keep the initiative quick action, or the initiative stat changers, because of things like being able to make it a quick action. And other various effects that are related to moves.
We're not discussing removing those.
Okay, well, we were before. So have we stopped discussing removing it?
Yes. We kind of established that a while ago.
I didn't think we established it. I thought we just moved past it because the discussion changed like 5 times. Then what was the point of the whole wanting to make sure that things felt like they had their place and that it wasn't being overshadowed by something else?
Because you were asking about the whole nerfing maneuvers and such.
Okay, yeah, because that was... Because, you were listing off different ones where it was like the maneuver does a thing that the move isn't as good at a base. So that was about, like, keeping the direction of things. So I still feel like this part of the discussion still had merit because you have to keep in mind that moves are able to do more things than maneuvers can because maneuvers are just kind of what they are.
Okay. Well, for now, I think we're good to move on from that. Prime is being changed to a standard action. Go ahead and note that down, Raharu. And you should already have it noted down that we're removing initiative crash.
Yeah, both of those are noted down.
Okay. So, next topic of discussion. Seda suggested that we change specialties to reducing difficulty or doing something other than simply adding 1 die.
If they're reducing difficulty, they need to be way more expensive. They need to be way more expensive if they're reducing difficulty.
Yeah.
Not arguing that. Just thought I'd bring back up the discussion just to give specialties a bit more clear purpose within the system.
I mean, I think it has pretty clear purpose.
They're a small boost to the thing that you're slightly better at in a specific category. Reducing difficulty, I wouldn't want to do. That's a bad train to go down. If anything, maybe the consideration of just a guaranteed success out of the dice pool or something.
Okay. One thing I do want to bring up because this is very important mathematically for specialties. The maximum natural roll you can get in something is 20. And a specialty gives just +1 dice. So, with that alone, that is the equivalent of, in a D20 system, getting a +1. And that's per specialty. And if you have a mastered specialty, that's the equivalent of getting +3 in a D20 system. Assuming you have, like, a maxed out attribute, expertise, and the skill is maxed out. So, specialties, I think, are extremely important, especially for a lot of characters, because each dice you add gives a certain expected value. So even at standard difficulty, that is 0.4 repeating successes you are expected to add by sheer dint of 1 dice. And that scales heavily and gets reduced heavily based on difficulty and crit.
Well, right now, specialties cost 15 XP. Mastering one is 25 XP.
Yep, for a total of 40.
I will say that I'm still a fan of, which I don't know if we still have that in here or not. But I'm still a fan of, if you have a specialty, your storyteller could absolutely make it where you need less successes than somebody that doesn't for that particular role or something related to it. They could give you a special role that others may not necessarily be able to even achieve. Things like that. So there is more use to a specialty in more of a narrative sense than just mechanical.
So I think what you're leaning more towards is probably like a nice kind of like middle of the road where, you know, you can take the specialty and if it's relevant to the role in some regard, you can give yourself the +1 dice. But let's just say I have a specialty in aircraft mechanics. You know, there's a little bit of that transferable skills there. So if I'm looking at a car, I can probably give myself the bonus for that one there. But I might be able to tell my storyteller, hey, I'm looking at a plane right now. You know, this should probably be like, you know, really easy for me. Could I get a little difficulty on that? And kind of like, you know, storyteller discretion, you know, maybe player suggestion. Perhaps you can get a lower difficulty, but that's a storyteller discretion at the end of the day. And the dice bonus is set in the rules.
Technically,
Yeah, that's. Go ahead.
I do want to point out that technically the term would be lowered challenge rating. Challenge rating is basically, you know, you're attempting to see this thing, you need 5 successes to see it. Or DC. I've kind of been putting them as challenge rating, but I guess we should probably figure that out. But we'll do that in a moment. But yeah, and that is actually still in the document here. Different challenges under the specialties on page 34. Without a specialty, some tasks are going to have a challenge rating that is extremely high unless you do have a relevant specialty. Someone without a specialty in craft drawing may need to get 10 successes to draw the skeleton you just discovered while adventuring at the same quality that someone with the specialty can with only 5 successes. Your storyteller is not going to tell you how many successes you need to succeed, but everyone is different and some are simply going to be better at some tasks than others. So that is another advantage to specialties other than just +1 to the die roll. And sometimes reminding your storyteller about mechanics like that is very appreciated. Depends on the storyteller, but, you know, I know I can forget about some things here and there, and actually, I know basically every storyteller that forgets about little things like that, oh yeah, you know, that does make sense. They just should not go the route of every roll has to be in the tower, and so you cannot see what you rolled at all. Ugh. I had one storyteller that did that, and it drove me up a wall. It's like, dude, I understand that the cleric is going to be more likely to succeed on a religion roll than the fighter or whatever. Just let us roll in the open.
Is that really the reason why?
Oh yeah, that was his reason for having every single roll in the tower where only he got to see the successes, because he did not want to deal with people arguing with him over, well, I rolled a 20 and he only rolled an 18, and why did he succeed and I didn't? And it's like, I think most players understand that the cleric's going to have an easier time just by default on religion than a fighter or a barbarian.
Yeah, that's like kind of just a, sucks to suck kind of thing.
Roll perception to find a rock.
Oh god, that storyteller.
Can I use my tremor sense to find a rock?
That storyteller probably would not have let you. I we have had some interesting storytellers over the years, okay? Everybody is different. Some of them are like, why? Just why?
Okay, I just came up with an idea for Saturday, and you're gonna hate me.
Era. No. Do not get yourself added to that list. But yes, literally we had a storyteller that was... Somebody had a sling, but they ran out of bullets for it, so they kept rolling to see if they could find a... Or they kept being forced to roll to see if they could find a rock on the floor of a cavern.
You're gonna find a rock in the floor of a cavern. This isn't a manicured castle, man.
Yeah.
Either rate, back to back to dev things.
Yes. So, with that in mind, with
'Cause I still got
specialties,
stuff in
Seda, do you still think we should make an adjustment to them, or...
I think in the interest of keeping things simple, and rereading over the options for the player storyteller interaction there, I think the specialties will be fine as they are.
Okay. So that one is removed. Next order of discussion. Attribute scale. There's been quite a bit of confusion on that. For me, I was thinking it was attribute scale divided by 5, or, all attributes added up divided by 5. Do we want to keep that? Do we want to make it, the 5, it goes up for every 5 attributes you have? Do we want to make it a standalone thing? Like, what do we want to do with it?
Personally, I'm on the side of we either have X per 5 or we have the attribute scale, and we should not have both.
KISS, one or the other, not both.
Okay. In that case, which way do we want to go with it? Because... we have a lot of things that are referring to the X for 5. We have a couple of things that I've added with the divide by 5. I was liking the idea of them being separate because, gives you a little bit of a power boost and more often than... Because, having some things work off of the divide by 5 and some things working off of X for 5, you get a little bit... You get some things that go up when you hit certain attribute points, and you got other things that go up when you hit a different amount of attribute points. I felt like that would be a better route for people to feel like they are actually growing in strength, though I do understand that it can be complicated on that front.
So, also, just to bring it up for this point, having the other two of the primary scale and the secondary scale there that are not per amount, but instead are scaling divide by amount, so happen more frequently, is that not also going to, so long as we have things that scale off of those, also provide a sense of, oh, I'm gaining in power in between X per 5 gains?
That is a fair point. And not one that I had considered. But do we want to go with X for 5? Have the attribute scale be different because of that, but more consistent, I would say, and easier to calculate? Or do we want it to be divide by 5?
Per
For-
5 is easier to math
Okay.
for most people.
Yeah. And one thing I will say, just for like, breakpoint purposes, obviously. And obviously this is only counting the attribute points that you put into your primary. For the divide by 3, that would be at 2, 5, 8, 11, every single 3 after, because that's when, the divide by would kick it up by 1 for the rounding rules. So that means that you would be gaining in those. Like, let's say you're just ignoring your secondaries because you just don't care, you just want a primary stat check, which is a very valid way of playing. So that would mean that every 3 attributes you're gaining, another thing that scales off of primary, which would be, I think currently right now is a boost dice every single game. So every 3 primary attribute points you spend, you gain another boost dice.
Yeah. I definitely plan to have more things scale off of those scales. But I think having those 3 scales is a good idea. Just depends on... I think for the sake of simplicity, yeah, we'll go with X for 5. And keep the primary and secondary scales as, the divide by 3 or divide by 2, respectively. There was also a mistake I made when writing about the attribute scale where I apparently decided in my head at that moment that attribute scale was literally just your total of attributes, but that's not what it was supposed to be.
Whoops.
My bad on that. Because I wrote in that HP scaled off of attribute scale, and it's like, when it was pointed out to me, yeah, that was a big oops. Congrats, you get 3 HP, good luck!
Yeah.
I mean, glass cannons are absolutely a thing.
Well, yeah, but that would make everybody a glass cannon.
You get to be a glass cannon. You get to be a glass cannon. Guess what? You get to be a glass cannon.
Glass
Right.
cannon for everyone.
Alright, so X for 5 then?
Yep.
Okay. So go ahead and note that down, Raharu.
As a side note to this,
Sure.
I do think once things are finalized in a more concrete position, a lot of these more potentially confusing sections could just get tables to help out. Like, I think a table for XP cap per 5 attributes in the move section would help a bunch once everything's like finalized. Of course, we don't need to waste the time with this right now, but in the future, that's going to make things a lot easier for players. So the T-Tells being slightly confusing right now isn't too awful, as long as the intent is clear.
Alright, I added that to the to-do list.
How many more to-dos are we going to do tonight, Zim?
That was the last one that was the last discussion point that I had.
Ah, good. We should officially approve Taldarius's character sheet.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up when we were done with the to-do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the last thing that you wanted me to note?
Attribute scale is X for 5.
Ah,
Standardizing terminology. Yay.
there we go.
All right.
Yeah, run.
For the character sheet. Run over what you've changed since we last looked at this, please.
All right. So first of all, the attribute scale is a round down now because we did X per 5. So that is correct. Primary scale is divide by 3 normal round, so it does not, it'll. So like if I change this, see how there's only 5, but now this is set to 2. It does rounding rules.
Okay.
Secondary scale is divide by 2, which means the moment you put another dot in there, even though it's 3 divide by 2, 1.5 rounds up. So that goes to 2. So that will follow our rounding rules exactly currently. So that was a change that I just quickly made. In terms of other things, on the EXP sheet, I did what Era wanted and included an available thing. So, like, let's say, just for example, I put 60 here, 120 here, and, like, 24 or 34. Now there's a little available box.
Excellent.
Hey, DG.
Hey, Enja.
I was transferring over Jace, and I was sitting there with a calculator going, why am I using a calculator? There's space.
Yeah.
And then I poked out.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
and-
something that every time I made a character, I'm like, why don't we have this? And then I forgot about it, and yeah.
Yeah. So the effective is still there just because I think it's neat to know what your effective character XP is with your spent and discount.
I like it.
I like it.
It's just a little fun thing. So let me quickly fix all of that. Yep, so that does that. Obviously, I know I showed this before, but like, if I just put skills in something, it'll automatically put the amount in the initial. Just from putting the skills there. So, that's fun. Make things a lot easier on people. And the last thing that I think is still technically new since the last time we officially talked about it was the type reference sheet.
Which I've already gotten 2 people, I think, that have been like, oh, I really like this.
Yep.
Though,
For Pokemon ones, I have a side sheet that I made that I could just copy over for people if they really want a Pokemon.
I would say, for now, let's go ahead and put another tab and just put the Pokemon type reference. I know it's a lot on this, but we've got a lot of games that are running off of that, so might as well go ahead and put it in there for now.
People can always right-click and hide.
Yeah.
So, or delete. So, Scar type reference here. And this one I specifically ended up making in regards to Digi's world. So, I'll have to make a specific change. But here, 1 second.
Just remove a few columns.
Just remove a couple columns and rows. You know how it is.
Which,
So,
for your world, Enja, we might want... I would request that we maybe... I'm assuming it's like the astral energy thing.
That's
Yeah.
the one. Change the wording.
I would recommend. I did actually a while back add that in, add our own version of that to the storyteller manuscript. Which it's slightly different wording. Instead of astral for deities, it would be called pure. It's on page 135.
Yep.
I put in some. Basically, you got pure for deities. I didn't want to call it godly or anything. I wanted to keep it more generic in case the worlds don't specifically have that, or, you know, like in the case of Pokemon, it's legendaries.
Yes.
So I went with pure, mortal, and corrupt. And they've got explanations on them. Go ahead, Tao.
I was gonna say I went ahead and copied the thing and just made it Pokemon type reference. You can see the three things that are Digi's special three types, which is Astral, Demonic, and Void. Void is funny. We should totally go fight Void beings, right?
No.
By the way, those one times, that's a little misleading because it needs to be magic to affect them. I just don't have a good way of
Noting that.
noting that. What if I put like a little asterisk? An asterisk fits. There you go. It has an asterisk now. But yeah, no, I could just chop those columns and rows if you want.
For generic Pokemon, probably.
Yeah.
For Lost in Chaos, that might come in handy.
Yeah, but then again, I can always just help people out with that. Also, because I'm me, instead of just copying a normal chart, I realized it wasn't alphabetical, so I remade the entire type chart alphabetically.
I appreciate that. Because literally I have gone to many Pokemon type charts and it's like, okay, where exactly is fire on this list? Because it's not alphabetical order.
Luckily, alphabetical order.
Very nice.
But yeah, I'll go ahead and chop off these columns. And rows.
So while I like these, for the sake of playtesting, I would prefer that we use what I put into that special type section on the dock. But it is your game, so you can run it how you want, Enja. That's just what I would request.
Okay.
So go ahead and delete that. Delete that. Alright, so there's just a normal Pokemon type chart.
All right.
We ship it?
Oh, 1 second. Go ahead.
I know you did add the merits, the expertises to the merit purchases. Definitely appreciate that you added that. I do want to double check the attribute scale here on the front page. Cool. Yeah, that looks good.
On the Pokemon type reference, I went ahead and just did column equals defense and row equals offense, because I showed it to some people and they immediately got confused what meant what, because the arrow direction made it was the opposite of how the rows actually technically read. Because offense, like if you look at the SCAR type reference thing, offense points down, which makes made some people think they were supposed to read the column for offense. So if you look in the Pokemon, I just put column equals defense, row equals offense. It's slightly scuffed, but yeah.
So, okay. Go ahead. I guess go ahead and do that on the Scar one as well.
Now, actually, I might be able to do. Aha! I've found a better way. Instead of the dumb-looking equal sign. Here, that looks better.
I like that better, yeah.
I just went, wait, what if I combine them? But yeah, that's pretty much all the new stuff.
I will say I'm a little confused with the offensive resisted, defensive effective, etc. Especially because...
Do you want me to rename defensive effective to weak?
Well, it's also because you've used different... Like, electric has defensive weak, and astral has defensive effective.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, funnily enough, I think I just missed that row when I changed it, because I was sitting here thinking, I could have sworn that I named it to defensive weak.
I think these might be better if... Okay, so offensive effective is if you're using an earth move, you are super effective against astral, fire, light, and poison, correct?
Yes.
I
That's correct.
think we might want to change that to super effective against. Because that's kind of the normal terminology that people have from Pokemon.
Well, let's see if that fits. Super effective against...
It probably... Yeah, I don't think it's going to fit, but we can play around with it and make it a little bit more standard and... more...
I think effective against would be better worded.
Yeah, probably.
So then should I change this to ineffective against?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then... What about the other two? Should I keep that defensive... weak?
So then this column is for, if you have earth type, you're taking extra damage from metal, nature, psionic, and water, right?
Yep.
I would say weak against. And then strong against.
So just,
That look better to the rest of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll do. That's a little bit more clear.
Alright.
All right.
Now we ship it.
Yeah, I think we're good to ship it.
Not that kind of shipping, Gib Gab. Go back to your box.
Yeah, I don't even have the Nova icon on right now. What are you doing?
I don't even know if Gib Gab's in chat anymore.
It could be.
It's okay. We can always just let them know that we called them out. later.
True.
I'm sure they'll appreciate it.
I think he will.
Caldarius, your character sheet adventures are over for now.
Yeah, don't worry. Someone's going to immediately find something that broke that I didn't catch and none of us caught while playing around with it, and I'll have to hotfix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it always goes.
It always
Hey,
happens.
I already put Jason to it, so I tested quite a few things.
There'll be, and then of course there will be the people that accidentally delete one of the formulas and are like, this isn't calculating right, and we're sitting here scratching our heads for 5 minutes or 10 minutes before we're finally like, oh, you just deleted it.
Yeah, no, there's a... Okay, so the thing is that there's a reason why whenever someone does that, I go, okay, give me access to your sheet. I ain't playing around. No, I've worked IT. I am not... No.
I open my own character sheet right away and see if it works on mine. If it works on mine, it's their fault.
Yeah.
You all laugh, but just
No,
like tell I've worked in IT. This doesn't work, goes immediately to that system, tries the exact thing they're saying doesn't work, sees that it works. Okay, so what did you do to not make it work? It just didn't work. No, honey, that's not the way this happens.
Yeah.
Go back a screen, tell me what you clicked. I clicked this, you don't click that.
Whoops.
Why not? Because that's not the right thing. Sorry.
Is what makes it not work. Do you understand now?
No, they don't. Clicking cancel does not print, honey, is something that has come out of my mouth. Cancel cancels what you canceled. TVs don't turn on with power, honey. What do you mean without power? So you know that little smiley face in the wall you plug your cell phone charger into so that where your cell phone gets power? Yeah, your TV needs that too. Oh, my boyfriend usually does that. That explains so much. So what we need to do is find the pluggy doodle in the back of the TV, and put that in the smiley face in the wall. Did you put the pluggy doodle into the smiley face in the wall? Hit the power button on your TV. It turns on. Fucking gasp.
There were so many times doing cable tech support where the problem was simply the cables, and trying to get the customer to just check the cables was a nightmare.
Oh, yeah, no. The amount of times I've had to tell people, hey, can you plug something else into that outlet? And then they go, it works. And I go, oh, no, make sure you use the exact same outlet. So you have the two kind, plug it into the same one. Then plug it and go, oh, it's not working. And I'm like, okay, call an electrician.
Yep.
Every single time that they would fight me about their coax cables having not been touched since the time that the tech put it in, and I'm sitting there like, please just go check it. Every single time it was, oh, I guess my cat must have gotten back there and bumped it loose.
I always told people that there are these magic little gnomes that come to your house, screw up your cabling, check your damn cables. And they'd be like, what do you mean? I'd be like, you've put frickin' headphones in your pocket, right? And they'd be like, yeah. And they come out in knots. Yeah, those are cable gnomes. They come in and they screw things up. What was the other thing? The inputs on TVs.
We weren't allowed to
I'm not getting a video.
that.
I had to. I needed some level of humor in my life, man. Otherwise, I would have been nuts. Inputs were a great one because people would always call and be like, well, it's not working. You'd be like, okay, press the input button on your remote. Oh, it's working.
Oh,
Have a
yeah.
good day.
Yeah. There was always the one guy that called in and just spent 15 minutes yelling at me about how Comcast is an evil company. How could I work for them? Blah, 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 blah. And eventually he asked me, how could you work for a company like this? And I'm just, something possessed me. I'm just like, they give me cookies.
See, I worked for AT&T. So yes, I needed my humor.
The line went dead for a solid minute, and I'm like, sir, are you still there? Then he starts busting up laughing. And he's like, what? Oh yeah, when I do really well, they give me cookies.
Yeah,
Well,
what
it's
about-
like there
yeah,
really
what-
was there was a prize card, and you know, every time you get a sale, you got to go over to the prize card. I mean, granted, I didn't get the cookies, but I did grab these yogurt-covered pretzels that were really good.
So you technically weren't lying.
Yeah, they gave me
That is
cookies
actually-
when I did well.
That is actually hilarious.
Did I ever
they're
tell you guys the
they're
story about the person who was on a breaky phone from Texas who didn't believe I'm from the United States?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Oh
good story.
yeah.
We going late with this, by the way, or are we ending because it's
I was planning to
9:48?
go late.
Did we want to read my proposal?
Sure, if we're done with my character sheet, I'm down for whatever.
It is long.
In that case, let's go ahead and cover something that has been needing it for a bit. Companions.
All right. We mentioned we were going to talk about companions at the beginning.
Yeah. The heck was that?
Resubscribe.
Oh, on
Ooh.
Streamloots. Thank you. I think that was Brian.
I believe so.
You know, you really should use your reactions more. You get a whole bunch of them for free every month with the subscription there, Brian. But either way, thank you. And you also get a free amp pack. I love this one in particular. Scamper Mimic.
I
I'm
remember.
gonna have that song stuck in my head for the rest of the night.
You're welcome.
I remember that mimic.
Yeah. We were playing a game and we're like,
Yeah.
how do mimics move? And we decided they have little stick legs that they put out, and someone in the
Yeah.
group decided to do a little animation of little stick figure legs just running along.
Yeah. I mean, it's either that or we go the Dark Souls route, and we didn't want Dark Souls mimics.
No one
But,
wants
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
How the hell do we want companions to work? Obviously, they need to be weaker than the main characters.
Yeah.
Because we just cannot have them be, you know, the same equal power.
Okay, I think here is an important question. Do we want them to be able to squire?
What do you mean by that?
Basically a term where their entire purpose is going around putting buffs on the person they're attached to.
I'm okay with them being able to do that, but I don't want that to necessarily be their entire purpose.
Alright, I just wanted to make sure that, what's the word for it? I just wanted to make sure that we wanted to allow that before continuing, because if not, you know, that would make things a lot more complicated.
I really, really liked the way that 5th edition finally did them with the sidekick system, where they were basically just weaker versions of existing classes. Obviously, we don't have that kind of setup, so we can't necessarily do that in full.
Yep.
But I think the easiest way to do it is they have a percentage of the character's XP. So I think we should start by deciding what do we want the maximum percentage to be. Originally, I think they could get up to 75%.
I think there was a way to get them to full, but yeah. I know originally it started at 25. And then there was like the first upgrade was to get them to like, oh no, I think it started at 50. I know, actually, we have this on the feed sheet.
Yeah, I was just pulling it up.
I was about to say, I thought it was 25.
Yeah, at the start it was 25. I did replace that particular line. I think it was 25% and 50% of attributes and expertises.
That was the 50% that I was, because I was like, wait, I thought it was actually 50 of everything, but no, okay, yeah. So,
in the end, they could get to 75% of your total XP and 100% of your default attributes and expertises.
okay. So that's good to keep in mind. Are
we going to convert it into a primeval feature then?
That's my plan, yes.
That was the goal.
So yeah, just to break this
Our
down,
modest fellowship expands.
I think we should start
Praise the sub.
there. Also, Haru,
just resubscribed for 16 months.
thank you so much for your resub, the 6 months in advance, and your 16 months of support. Thank you.
E.
So yeah, do we want to keep that as the cap, or do we want to lower it? Part of
I
why
think as
I'm
a final... Go ahead.
Part of why I'm debating lowering it is because in most cases your companions are very specialized. Occasionally they are treated as, full-fledged characters, but most of the time they are specialized. You've got a companion to help you in combat. You got one that might help you with healing or, and so that's really the only thing that they go for. Do we want to have that be the max? I think I'm okay with that. Because especially with it being a primeval feature, if they don't need it, they don't have to spend the XP on it.
Yeah. And really, once you get a companion to do the kind of stuff that you want it to be able to do, then, I think it's also fairly reasonable that, you just stop investing in it if you don't need it anymore. Are we going to have the upgrades be per companion, or is it going to be you basically have a companion limit with the feat and, maybe you can increase it with a feature? Or, a companion limit.
I was planning to ask that next, but I'm leaning towards you have to buy it per companion. It'll get very expensive that way, but at the same time, with action economy and such, having a companion can be incredibly powerful. Yeah, it was per companion last talk.
Yeah. I will definitely not disagree of the strength.
So, I guess we can cement that. Is it per companion? So you have to pick up the primeval features for each companion?
I'm fine with that.
Seda, Era, Raijin?
I think Raijin's busy. I'm fine with it. I'm going to default on you guys for the companion stuffs because I don't generally like companion TTRPGs.
Likewise, I'm going to default because I'm not as well versed in the subsystem to give any feedback on, but I do kind of agree with the sentiment of you have to purchase the feed for each companion. Since it is a worthwhile investment for the action economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense to me.
Alright. So go ahead and put that down. Like, just do a whole section for companions there, Raharu. Put down that we are cementing in. You have to buy the primeval feature and all of its abilities per companion. And then if you have one that you don't need to get too strong, you don't invest into that one that much.
Yeah. I mean, this does obviously increase the overall investment level, though.
It does. But at the same time, it's...
Companions are so strong.
Yeah. It should.
They're
Also,
so hard to balance. That's why I'm like, I don't know here.
Yeah. I know in a lot of my games in the past, have always gone for companion, but haven't done that in one of the Scar games, though I do have intentions for that with Jet, if we ever get to it.
Yeah.
Jet has so much unspent XP, it's ridiculous. Literally, I could just pick up so much stuff with him.
Very fair. I tend to like stockpile it until I get to about 100 XP, and then I spend it because I'm like, okay, I have enough to get whatever the hell I want. So
I haven't updated his totals in a while, but last time I looked, it was around like, I want to say like 250 XP that he just had sitting there unspent.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've not seen much to spend it on necessarily.
By the way, this thing is called a primeval feat or primeval feature?
Feature.
Okay.
So for primeval features, you have to pick up a feat first to get into it.
Ah.
But yeah. For the sake of cost, do we want to have it where they only need to pick up the companion's feat once? Or just the same as, they have to pick it up per companion? Actually, no.
Well,
we'll keep it per companion. Yeah.
I was about to say, if it's per companion, they're going to be upgraded separately, and the cost of getting a companion is always going to be 25 regardless, so. Honestly, now I'm just considering the efficacy of an honor guard character.
And slowly puts Cal in the corner.
Look!
Don't look me. Don't
Come on.
look me after that statement. Do not.
Oh, hi, Gabe.
Honestly, it would certainly need to be played around with, but I would definitely dare say it might even need to be considered limiting the number of companions that a player can get outright because of the impact on the action economy. Plus, we don't want to run into cases where a single player gets to take like 1 billion turns for combat while everyone else has to wait around.
Well, on that front, this particular feat does require storyteller approval. So it
Yeah.
will be up to the storyteller to allow you to go into it again.
If
Or even
everybody
in the
has
first place.
50 followers, I guess it doesn't matter too much at that point.
Yeah, if everyone's playing an honor guard character, then what's the problem?
Put Sal further into the corner. Sal, there's not enough alcohol in my house for that statement.
But the best part is you know exactly what I mean.
Tell, I can't put you any further in the corner.
I blep at you from the corner.
Well, I think you should just be playing Lancer at that point.
Besides, we don't have mass combat rules yet, so I can't honor guard my way through the game.
True.
Yeah, that's low priority. Very
Yep.
low priority.
Extremely.
Also, have a good night, Conrad. Thanks for joining today.
Good night, Conrad.
Oh, look, Gibgab just got home, so he missed us dunking on him.
But yeah, back to focusing on this. It sounds like everybody's good with the maximum being 75% of XP and 100% attributes and expertise. Yes?
As the absolute maximum, yes.
Yes, as an absolute maximum.
Yeah. It'll be expensive to get to that point, but, you know. So go ahead and note that down, Raharu. For the sake of simplicity, I think we should go ahead and do it in, you know, like we were before, where it's 2 upgrades to get to that. I kind of like the 25% to start and 50% in attribute and expertise.
Now here's a question. Do we want them to be able to upgrade those two paths separately, or do we want a package deal?
Kiss, kiss. Package deal.
Oh,
I like
attribute.
how in both corporate meetings and here I can just say kiss and people know exactly what I'm intending. I think the feats are fine as is, Zim. I don't think we need to make any changes. Just reapply them to the primeval features and what other extra little things, bits and bobs we want to toss in there. But right now I'm not seeing it as broke, so I see no reason to fix it.
Okay.
Yeah, the only rule to put in is that a companion can't get companions.
Yes.
We are not going to Matryoshka with all this.
I want to say the funny thing, but I put Taldarius in the corner, so I can't say the thing.
Give me one moment. Sending things to Conrad. Okay. So we'll keep it as is. So we'll have a separate thing where they get their own initiative with one standard action and one reaction per turn. And then another upgrade that lets them have the same actions as your average player then. Yes?
Yeah.
Thumbs up then.
By default then, do they... Are we wanting to go the route of they... You know, because you buy the primeval feature feat, and so they'll get a 25% XP character and 50% attribute and expertise. Do we want to have that be a they act on your turn using one of your actions, or what do we want to do on that?
I will say it's a really feels bad man thing for whenever you have one of those characters and the answer is, oh hey, this thing is useless in combat if I don't give up one of my actions to have it do a thing.
I agree, but how do we want to handle that?
I'd say they should at least get a standard action per turn that they can do on their own. Now, whether that's just to move, whether that's to attack, that's whatever. And then if you want, you could sacrifice one of your standard actions to have it perform an action.
An additional action.
Yeah. So that way, like, you know, if you want to basically warhound it up, like, you know, let's say, you know, you're playing, like, you know, whatever warhound thing you want to call, it can use its action to get up to whatever the target is, and you could give give up one of your actions to have it attack. And every turn after that, so long as it's still there, it can just use its one standard action a turn to just keep attacking. I think that lets it do things without it being like, oh hey, it's just a full, actual, whole-ass character now.
So it gets one action per turn on your turn? By default?
Yeah.
Alright. Trying to think of balancing on this then. Because that does feel a bit much for only 25 XP to me.
Well, this is also keeping in mind that it gets one action that it can do. And it doesn't have... Okay, here's an important question. Like, you know... Since it's only able to do things that it's able to do, and it starts off as 25% of XP and 50% of attributes and merits. The question really is, I think, how impactful is it that it gets one free action? One free standard action? Because just thinking about it, it'll have the 4 power. It'll have the 4 power move. And so what would it be at? Like, let's say game start. Let's say, you know, you're doing this at game start. It'd be at 6 attributes. So it would have 1 attribute at 2 and all the rest at 1. It would be able to get, because 60... Oh no, maybe it'd probably be it. Hold on, wait, no. Because I was trying to... Here's a question. Does it start at a base of 5 and then it gains 50% of your attributes? Or is it just whatever your attribute amount is, 50% no base?
I would say no base.
No base, so it would have 4 then.
Well, minimum of 5 attributes because you kind of have to have at least 1 dot in each.
Yeah. Well, you could not, but that just makes it so any roll involving it is chance die. But yeah. So it'll have 5 attributes, just one in each category. It'll have the 4 power base move. It would have the starting dots because it is a character, so it has the starting. We might want to limit the starting, but it would have starting dots.
I mean, for skills, yeah.
Yeah. I know before we were thinking about 2 per column and 2 overall, and having a decent base also might not be a problem. It depends. But 25% of 60 is 15, so they would be able to get a second dot into Brawl, for example. Second dot into Brawl, have 5 XP left over. They would get a 5 base power move now. So they would have a move with an accuracy of 4 and a power of, in my head, 5 plus 2 plus 1, and power of 8. That would be what a, if you're starting with it, that'd be what you were working with.
You know what? Yeah, that's okay.
And that's assuming, you're going to max it. You just leave it as it is. It's 3 accuracy, 6 power.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So, go ahead and note that down, Haru. Default, they get one standard action on your turn. Let me know when you get that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They have 25 XP, 50% attribute and expertise, minimum 5 attributes.
What was the last one?
Minimum of 5 attributes.
Okay, let me double check this. Companion get 1 standard action on your turn. They get 25% EXP, 50% attributes and expertise, and minimum of 5 attributes, right? By default.
Yes. They get the character creation 4 power move.
Mm-hmm.
And for skills, actually, I should clarify that it'll be merits that they get for expertises. So to start with, we will. Where's character creation? There it is. So for default, I would say they get 2. Well, yeah, that would be 50%. So yeah. Otherwise, it'll be actually merits that they do get, where it's 50% of your total merits. But they would start with 2 expertises. For skills,
Start with 2 expertises.
don't worry about noting that.
Okay.
That was just me idly mumbling. I'm okay with them having some of the character creation skills. Right now, characters start with 3 dots per column, and then they get another 4 dots that they can spend wherever.
Yes.
What do we want to have it for them? Is it 2 per column and then 2 wherever? Or do we want more? Do we want less? What are people feeling?
My suggestion there is to remove the restrict. Just give them a flat amount of dots they can put in and let them put them anywhere. Because usually companions end up being specialized anyways. So that's normal character creation is what, 3, 6, 9, 12?
It's 13.
13? Give him half his mount and just be like, yeah, put him wherever.
So 7 wherever.
Yeah.
I don't like that because I don't think companions should. I mean, obviously, Geeman's got, Edge, which is literally a sentient sword, but I don't think that companions should just be that specialized. So I would rather have it still with the dots per column, so that way they are more than just Icewing Sword.
It's usually what people end up using the companions for.
Yeah, but
Icewing Sword, or this is my knowledge monkey. Or this is my heal bot.
I would like them in this to be more... I would like it to feel more rounded for the companions.
Yeah, even if it's 2 per column, I do just want to point out, at 2 per column and 2 overall, it is that still lets you put 4 in a single column if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's honestly good enough.
Which would cover all of your combat stuff anyways, so...
Okay. I will default to you guys. As I said, I've never had good luck as a GM trying to do companions.
Understandable.
They're difficult to handle sometimes.
I don't know, you don't seem to have many issues with Rex.
That's because I get to joke with Rex, and Rex has hard limits.
Are we talking about a character named Rex, or are we talking about Rex?
Both.
His familiars in Pathfinder are way easier than the leadership feat. I'm going to put it that way.
I remember my days of the leadership feat.
And I've had the leadership feat, and as a player, managing it is absolutely fine. As a GM, managing it is just horrendous. Because you got to remember that somebody has 30 followers all the time. It's like...
Yeah, I don't anticipate people getting up that many. But that is, of course, up to the storyteller to approve or deny. If a storyteller wants to give their player 30 followers, well, good luck, storyteller.
Era just grumbling about 3.5e stuff is bringing me life currently.
And Pathfinder. Look, I run Pathfinder, and it's horrendous in that. In 3.5e, I had a character with leadership feat, and the GM was dumb enough to give me a pseudo-dragon as a cohort.
Wow. One time, me and my buddies were doing a 3.5e Orc Warlord game, so I took the leadership feat, and had my immortals, and every time one of them died, I would recruit it. I would basically like go to my like underling tribemen and give one of them a new name that was the exact same name as one who just died. So they were technically immortal.
As a player, leadership is great. As a GM,
to be fair, I also had copies and maintained all of the sheets for all of my little leadership underlings.
So did I, but it's one of those things where you forget what they have under them sometimes.
Hard to forget considering I kept giving them the same names.
Either way, I don't foresee that being a problem with Scar. Because I don't intend for them to have that many. Does that orange duck have emo Oh.
Oh,
Saimo?
Simo.
Is that an actual word?
It's Italian.
Oh. For stupid, foolish, silly.
interesting.
I was just going to say, is that Sada on his emo phase?
You know, I'm glad to see something other than Baka written.
But Baka is funny.
Alright, so we good with the 2 per column and 2 wherever?
Yeah.
Alright. Go ahead and write that down, Raharu. 2 skill dots per column, 2 wherever. Oh my god, the quotes are sentient again. Quote for Army of Companions. Of course Era needs to have a plantation. You all are competing over who gets to run the bakery.
Yep.
Gib Gab, when we were finishing up the character sheet, we decided to ship it, and I told you to go back to your box. Not that kind of shipment.
Alright, another thing with companions that I wanted to bring up. I would like their HP to be separate from their attributes. It adds a little bit more complexity, but I think that their HP should be equal to the character that they are tied to, but the base HP, so without like healthy feats and such. We don't want them to be too squishy.
Okay, so we just put it like their HP is equal to the attribute count of the character they're attached to.
Yes.
Not so that way it's different than the health, yeah. Makes sense.
Any opposition to that?
Not yet.
None here. I'm defaulting.
Okay. So go ahead and note that down, Raharu.
Yeah, companion HP is equal to the character they are attached to, or equal to the attributes. Attribute count.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. Alright, now the hard part. XP costs. So obviously the default is just 25 XP for the, it's just 25 XP for the default. For the 50% of your total XP and 75% of the attribute and expertise, or merits, what do we want to set that cost to?
So we're staging it to like, 50, 75, and then staging it again to 75, 100.
What?
Sorry, I was doing a little bit of mental shorthand. We're basically staging it so that way there's an upgrade to go to 50% XP 75 merit attribute, and then there's another upgrade to go 75% and 100 again, right?
Yes.
Um. So I think I would say it's a little bit tricky. Also, real quick interjection, pat gib gab anyway. I'm thinking maybe because I don't know about making it 25, but I don't want it to be too much cheaper, so maybe just like a 20.
Oh, okay. I was leading towards 50, but fair.
Oh, 50 for like each?
Well, we can have them different because these are going to be two separate abilities. It's not just a purchase it and then purchase it again.
Oh, okay, because I thought it was purchase it again.
No, we can have them
So I was
different,
thinking-
so...
Yeah, because I don't think the first one is quite worth 25.
The 50% XP, 75 VAT, and expertise?
Yeah, I don't think that one should be 25, but also the making it so that way they have an equal amount of attributes to use is kind of like a big thing.
Yeah.
So if that one's more 30, then yeah, I'm fine with that.
So 20 XP for the 50% XP and 75 attribute?
Yeah.
And then 30 for the 75 XP and 100% attribute?
Yeah, because then basically you're making that like it's not pure, but it's near pure. So honestly, I'm fine if that one even goes more expensive. But the first one is basically just bringing it into effectiveness, so I don't want to make that too expensive.
I'm okay with the 20%, with the 20 XP for the first one. I'd say 35, maybe 40 for the 75% XP.
Yeah, like I said, I'm fine with that one going more expensive.
Thoughts from everybody else?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Well, the problem is that we've got 30, 35, or 40 for the second one, so, you know. Fine with it is not an answer.
I'm defaulting, but for the final one, why are you making me think?
Because we're doing dev work. You're supposed to be thinking. We do it
Devs
twice a
don't
month. These ones better!
Devs don't think, they just do. What's the first one again? It's 20?
That's what we're leaning towards. If you've got disagreement on that, by all means, share it.
I don't have disagreements on that. I'm just double checking. I'm doing braining. 40 is my lean. It sounds like a lot, but you're basically pushing to near second character.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, where it's near pure.
So 40 feels up there.
Seda, thoughts on all this? Raijin, you got any ideas?
Sorry, I'm busy with work.
Fair enough. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and lock that in. 20 for first XP upgrade, just note that, Raharu. And 40 for second XP upgrade. And then we've got, now my brain's struggling to think.
Oh no.
And then we've got the... There was something else I was going to bring up before we move to the actions, but I'm not remembering it now. Oh, right, feats. Circling back a little bit, do we want to give these companions the 3 starting feats? Or do we want to have them have, like, you know, 2 starting?
I think 2 is fine, especially because we could rationale that as 1 is being taken up by them being the companion.
That's kind of what I was thinking, yeah. So, yeah, go ahead and put in up above Raharu the note that they get 2 starting feats, yes. Here's a question, which could be turned into an additional ability under the Companion's Primeval feature. Do we want them to have their own pool for vigor, willpower, and boost dice?
I will say, because this is what we decided before, just to, like, you know, make sure we're all on the same page of what it was before. The previous answer was they have their own pool, but they can't use it to assist anyone. They could only use it on their own thing. That was what we decided before, so that's currently our starting point.
That does sound about right to me. And that be if it wasn't like that, then there'd be no point for the companion to have any bigger stat.
Yeah, and if they could use it to assist, then why would you ever get that yourself? Just have your, you know, companion do it, so that way they have all of the vigor, all of the will, and they take the exhaustion and not you. So
yeah. I'm good with that staying as is, then. However, an alternative idea, just for the sake of balance, is we could make it an upgrade where they then get those. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a big upgrade, but it wouldn't have to be an expensive ability purchase. But I feel like it might be a good idea. Just because, you know, getting a companion is a measly 25 XP. So they could start with having no boost or we could let them have the willpower and vigor, maybe. No, keep it simple. I would say they don't get any of those. They would have to use your pools for those. But there's an upgrade to give them their own that cannot be used to assist anybody.
Wouldn't that make the starting stuff, like, just be completely useless, though? Because, just to bring it up, that means that their starting vigor and willpower would be dead stats, because also their health isn't even tied to it. So them having a point in vigor and will is literally useless until you get that upgrade.
And they have to have that point in vigor and will.
You're right. However, I'm also thinking it would only be a 10 XP cost for adding that to them.
I mean, I guess, but they also can't be allowed to use it on anyone except themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't exactly see a reason to tie this to a feat. This just sounds like something that it just should be a thing for companions in general.
I'm also looking at this at the fact that you're getting a lot with a companion for only 25 XP. They get... you are essentially gaining an extra action. Sure, they are the ones that are performing it, but they're starting... They're not great out the gate, but if you're specializing them, then they get there very quickly. And this is just a little thing... I hate to call it this, but it would basically be a feat tax.
Well, yeah, I just don't like the idea of us doing feat taxes.
I don't
Yeah,
either, but this
yeah.
is also kind of an extenuating circumstance in my mind of something that they are getting that is very powerful. Even at character creation, that is a very powerful, bonus to them.
I mean, on one hand, yes. On the other hand, they also literally can only use it on themselves. So is it really that problematic enough that, like, this is where we need to implement a feat tax?
Do you have another suggestion?
No. Right now, no, because I wasn't thinking about implementing a feat tax on something, but... Like, okay. So, just on the list of things that a companion can do.
Minor counterpoint, even at character creation, they're not going to have that many boost dice.
Yeah, well, they'll have one.
They'll have one at first.
Yeah, and one bigger and one willpower.
Yeah, they have one of each. When would they, like, just assuming that someone does get the 20 XP upgrade for them because they're serious about their thing and they, want their companion to be decent. That's 75. So in order for them to even get the points, they'd need to be at 7. So they wouldn't even get, because at 9 times 0.75, that's 7. They need to get to 8. In order to get to 8, they need to be at 10 for 7.5. I shouldn't have even had to do that math. That was dumb of me. The actual player character needs to be at 10 attributes with the 20 XP upgrade for them to even get a second boost die. If we really want to feat tax them, and like this is just assuming, like, maximum. We wanna really feat tax them for certain things. What if we made it so that way the upgrade to getting a standard action and a quick action are two separate ones that they'll have to pay for? Because that's one way we could implement a little bit of extra feat tax. And... no, I don't like the idea of capping how many skill points a companion can gain.
I believe if I remember correctly, we are already capping the attributes.
Oh, overall, technically speaking, not.
No, wait, no, sorry, I meant the expertise. I believe we said that they can't go beyond 3.
That was something that I wrote in there, but it's not actually valid.
Ah.
I mean, we could always re-implement that and put in an upgrade tax to let them go past that. But again, that feels arbitrary. Because, like, intentionally trying to put in a feat tax, like, no matter what we do, it's going to feel a little bit arbitrary.
That's true.
Because, you know, explicitly we're thinking about how to inflate the cost of this beyond what it should be.
Well, it's more... I'm looking at this as more of a... we're not necessarily trying to inflate it more than what it should be. Rather, it's more trying to get it to something that is equivalent to what they're getting out of it.
Okay, but let me put it this way. We're trying to put arbitrary limitations on things. Just so that way we can then have them pay for it to bring it more into line of where we think the overall EXP investiture should be.
Fair.
That is what we are attempting to do.
What we could do instead is simply say that this feat costs more than the 25. We do
have that as a thing.
Yeah.
So
we haven't done anything that where they, you know, cost more, but we do have it where, oh, you pick you've got swim, well, you get 10 XP back.
Yeah, which we do also have a thing that says sometimes feats will not cost the standard 25 and they may have alternative costs.
Did we put that? Okay, in that case, let's just bump it up to 35 cost.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Oh, wait, so the first upgrade?
The V2 start getting a companion.
Yeah.
Would be at 35.
I'm good with that. And then they can just have their, you know, boost and whatnot. It just cannot be used to when they're assisting somebody.
Noted.
Sound good? Everybody on board?
Sounds good to me. I noted it down.
All right. Yes?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but what does it say for the feats that you choose when you're creating a character?
So the free feats, none of those can be a primeval feature. Or at least that's what it should say.
Okay, so that's already specified.
I don't know if that's
yes, it is.
thing.
You may pick any feats you meet the prerequisites for, though these free feats may not be a primeval feature feat.
Yep.
Okay, that's the only thing that came to mind for me.
Yep. And even if it was a thing, we could just, reword it to be like, you get a 25 XP discount off of any feat. But if that's already covered, it's already covered.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that these things being free works anyway is that you pay the cost and that it's discounted. So that way, technically speaking, it doesn't count as spent XP.
Yeah. At least that's how we have it in the current character sheet.
Well, effectively, that's also what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So on to the last thing I think for the companions. The upgrade that allows them to get their own initiative with 1 standard action and 1 reaction per turn. The reason for the reaction is, one, it's an upgrade other than just being on their own initiative, but also it allows them to basically be a proper guard and able to hold his own and such.
I'm sorry if I missed this because I was dealing with a lot of meeting stuff, but has the discussion touched on the idea of if the player character needs to be able to convey commands, like not necessarily using an action, but at least be, conscious and able to make commands for the companions to act, or can the companions act without necessarily having the commands from the player character?
I think on that we did not discuss that, but I think that the player must be able to issue commands if they want the companion to do something in particular. Otherwise, the companion will act as is appropriate for their nature, and so if the player cannot issue a command, like they're unconscious or something, then the companion will do whatever is appropriate for them. Like, obviously, they'll carry out whatever command you gave them. If you told them to kill this one target, they'll go kill that target. But if you go unconscious and they kill their target, they'll kind of just do whatever's appropriate for them.
Bless you.
Like, if one is a defender kind of character, noble knight or squire, they might go back and defend your body or try to heal you or something. But it'll basically be turned over to the storyteller at that point.
Yeah. It's like if you tell them, hey, guard this area, and, they guard it, they'll do things in relation to guarding it, but, like, even if you leave, but, like, they won't somehow know that you want them to do something else or whatever.
Yeah. Unless you're there to tell them. But if they're, you're in an active battle and you get knocked down, then the storyteller can decide what they do.
Basically, they are still their own whatever level of intelligent being.
They are their own intelligent being-ish thing, but they've got, they are loyal to you, so it won't be like, animal companion, oh, master is down, let's run away kind of situation, but they would probably, do whatever's appropriate.
I guess unless you wanted it written into that specific character that they are A cowardice little shit.
Yeah, true, true.
Basically, it was.
I know people.
What were you saying, Raijin?
Basically, it was just a question of confirming verbiage because 5th edition in particular, I know, is very particular about saying that the player character must be able to issue commands for any type of summoning or companion.
Yeah, I'm okay with going this route, whatever's natural for them. Summons would be a whole other matter, but that we'll touch on those when we actually get to those.
It's a different matter, but maintaining verbiage for that kind of thing would certainly be important because they sort of touch on the same concept.
Fair. Yeah.
Yep.
What is it? Yeah, we'll just go with whatever is appropriate for the creature, you know, the creature's nature and such.
Nature.
We'll stick with that kind of verbiage because, you know, some summons may be okay with you summoning them. Like the professor's little imp that he kept summoning over and over and was very happy to carry those bombs into places for him and blow them up, even though, you know, he got blown up and sent back to where he came from, but he was still very happy to do that. But anyways, so yeah, that aside, go ahead and make that note, Raharu.
The note about the companion's natures?
Yes.
Yeah,
that
okay.
they will act according to their nature after they finish their order. Actually, we'll leave out the after they finish their order thing.
Yep.
Because some might, you know, oh crap, my friend's down. He told me to kill this guy, but he's dying, so let's go save him.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have characters like that. Sometimes you'll have Edge.
Oh yes, thank you, Arceus. Now I can go tell Squirrel again how he's a torture to be around.
To be entirely fair, I don't think Edge meant it that way. The only thing that he meant is that Pyro kept telling him that he's going to give him to Squirrel to be used as forge material.
I'm aware of that. Squirrel is not with the way that he worded it.
Fair enough.
Especially not with what was already going through his head.
Neither Pyro nor Edge are the best persons with words. Thank goodness Elba is there.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
I worry for the future. But also, there are way too many characters going on in there. It's one of those, like, out of game, it's like, we really need to reduce the number of characters. But also, at the same time, God, this one is way too useful.
Helper really is useful. I'm glad that I was able to make him that way. I'm
But
very
yeah.
happy with that.
Back on track here. What do we want the cost for them to have their own initiative with one standard action and one reaction?
Is that one additional or just gaining the reaction?
Basically gaining the reaction and it's their own initiative.
Okay, so they maintain one standard action and they do not gain a second standard action.
Correct.
There
is a second, there will be an upgrade to this one, which will give them another standard action and a quick action.
So then they will have the entire turn of a regular player by that point.
Yeah. So in that case, this is the cheaper one. because this gives far less. It basically, what it does is their own initiative order, which may or may not help, and the reaction, which is very useful.
Sometimes. Very situationally.
Well, yeah, but it means that the thing is that, like, that, because you could use a reaction for more things than just, attack of opportunity bonk.
Yeah.
This could be
True.
them literally trying, like, you're about to get yeeted off a cliff and they try and grab you.
True.
So the reaction, having it, is honestly, it's one of the things where the value isn't really in using it, the value is having it.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
Yeah.
Because the way
I'm thinking 10 or 15 for it.
I'll lean towards 10 because the own initiative is okay, but it's really just gaining a reaction.
How about 12? Meet in the middle.
Yeah, we could do 12.
Just because you didn't seem very committal to the 10, so...
Yeah, I was not very committal to the 10, that is true.
Alright, so 12 XP for own initiative plus 1 reaction.
and their own standard action.
Well, they already have that, so...
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next one would be same actions as your average player. The 2 standard actions, 1 reaction, 1 quick action.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna note then upgrade for second standard action and quick action since the first one already covers the reaction.
That works. What do we want that XP cost to be?
That one might be a 25.
I was about to recommend 24 myself because we had the other one at 12.
I'm good with that, yeah.
The 24 or the 20. It doesn't
25.
really matter that much between. 25? Okay.
All
Got it.
right. One final call for anything else that we want to note with companions. Oh, right. Considering the power of the teamwork expertise.
Yes.
I know it's arbitrary. You know, it's one of those arbitrary limitations, but do we want to limit all of their max expertise or just teamwork?
Well, it really depends about what you want it for. Because the thing is that if you're basically trying to make, a guard, the teamwork doesn't matter for them at all. Obviously, if you're just trying to make, a little, squire guy who, goes around and helps you with shit, obviously that's where, the teamwork goes in. I guess the important thing is, are we still going to limit the amount of expertise they could gain?
Well, considering that they can get up to equal what you have,
As before we did do that.
before we did have where they can only increase an expertise to 3 dots max.
Yeah, and the reason why is because we never wanted people to feel like their helpful, really team-based character is getting replaced with an NPC feat. Because if it gets limited to 3, having the other player help you with 5 teamwork, because they're all about helping out with that teamwork, is still better than having someone jump in with that feat. or
Yeah.
with the feet character.
Yeah, and teamwork is the main helping outfit when it comes to that. Because
But also,
Mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we don't have the thing that is fight teamwork and then the other skill, and then we have that, and when we have that feat that allows you to use the skill again with another player.
I'm not worried about skills because there's plenty of options there that you cannot cover all of them with a. Okay, normally you cannot cover all of them with a companion.
Yeah.
But in the case of teamwork, that can apply to anything.
Everything. Yeah, everything. So, yeah, maybe arbitrarily capping teamwork might be for the best. If we do fear that that a companion or somebody else might just like be used as a teamwork bot.
Yeah. So do we want to limit it sounds like it, but I want to confirm. Do we want to limit teamwork to 3 dots max for companions? Or do we want to
I think
limit
we're limiting
all?
one. I think we should limit all if we're limiting.
Alright. In that case, yeah, we'll note that down. I would say if they have more merits available somehow, then they can convert to XP at a 1-to-1 rate. Just to cover bases on that front. And actually, we could just do that. Actually, we won't bother because the chances of somebody getting to that point with their merits is incredibly slim anyways.
Indeed.
It is more likely for companions with them being capped at 3, but I guess we can put that note in if just in the off chance, but that'll be in the
I'm muted.
storyteller.
Hi, Yara.
I've been fucking muted.
I thought you were just being quiet because we were still talking about companions.
Same.
Tal, do you have the thing?
Oh
first I wanna
yeah,
hear
the
what Yara
meme.
was-
But yes.
Yeah, I was gonna be nice this one time because it is Dragon Appreciation Day.
Fair.
So what were you saying, Gara?
So many things that I'm kind of pissed off now.
I'm sorry.
I forgot. My brain's mad at me now.
Well, we were talking about limiting expertises last.
Oh, yes, that you have to limit them all was one thing I said. The other thing I said was that the likelihood of the amount of things that are needed to get all expertises up to 3 dots is pretty damn high. On top of that, at that point, they're epic levels, so whatever. The rules are kind of being thrown out the window at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is...
It is
20, 30,
incredibly
50.
unlikely, but
50 times 6 is 300 expertise plus a few other, or plus a bit more.
It's 440 merits, by the way.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's not happening. So I would.
That's including them starting with the 4 expertise.
If NEST drives their players that high, they can deal with the consequences.
Fair enough. And they only get 2 expertises to start.
Oh, they still only get 2? Okay, in that case it's 460 merits.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. That's endgame nonsense.
I don't think that's even endgame. I feel like that's post game. So if TTRPGs had post games.
I say late game because I've driven several campaigns and 2 epic levels, so
fair.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, there's one character I made explicitly for, like, a little short, like, hey, let's do extremely overly high level shenaniganry. Yeah. Might be over 5,000 XP and a couple hundred merits.
I have played a D&D 3.5e character from level 4 all the way to level 35. It does happen.
Yep.
It was 5 years meeting weekly.
Damn, nice.
Yeah, I've done that shit. I ended up, basically due to 3.5e shenanigans, I ended up with an int modifier of 128.
The GM made me take back my cap. I got my strength score up to 180. And he's like, no, I'm capping you at 80 now because you can just break anything. And I was like, but you haven't seen my dex score yet. Then I shut up.
Yeah.
You just
no,
gave
I
me a
had
look and I just flipped my character sheet over.
Yep, no, there was a reason I said modifier of 128.
I know what you meant. And I know what I did.
All right.
3.5. You broken mess.
So go ahead and note down, Raharu, that expertises are capped at 3 dots each.
Yeah, got it.
So, anything else that we want to note about companions? I will take that as a no. In that case, Era,
Yes, sir.
are you up for going over your proposal?
If you guys want to do an initial read through, I'm going to need to stand up and get caffeine if we're going any longer.
Well, okay, then do we want to call it here, or do we want to continue?
That's up to y'all. That is the decision of whether or not I get caffeine. As in, I'll go to the fridge and put caffeine in my body.
I mean, I'm honestly fine with either, but, like, if we're going to be doing it, because we're going to have to do a read-through anyway, I'm also fine if we just do, like, an initial read-through of things.
You mean just do an initial read-through on the stream tonight?
No discussion or anything, or... I'm confused as well.
Because we could really do either. Because, like, even just doing, like, an initial read-through, we can, in fact, still, like, you know, just ask clarifying questions, but not, like, get extremely into the weeds on discussion.
Yeah, I think I get it. And as for me,
Okay, Eric, go apply caffeine.
Right, I'm gonna go grab some caffeine. What?
Let's, what were you saying, Raharu?
I was just gonna say that I could stay up 1 more hour, since that's usually the amount of time that we will have gone with the game today, if it hadn't been canceled. So yeah.
If needed, I can take notes after that, probably.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. I'm standing up. I'm gonna go get caffeine. We should probably take a break since people have been reading, sitting, and talking.
That is a good idea. I'm gonna go ahead and split up recordings as well.
Okay.
Partially because I do need an extra recording anyways, but... yeah. We'll go ahead and split up recordings here, everybody. We're gonna continue with the dev work tonight. At least another hour, maybe a little longer. We'll see how things feel. But for now, thank you so much for joining us today for this DevTales session, as well as the Art Marten stream that happened earlier. Check out our website, zgfgaming.com. We got links for our Discord, Telegram, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Patreon, and more. They're on the website as well as down in the description below through our link tree. Thank you to my patrons, tippers, and subscribers. It is your support that keeps this channel alive and going. I cannot do this without your guys' help and your support, so thank you. Consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/zgfgaming. It's one of the best ways to support the channel, though you can also do so by sharing the stream around, as well as coming by, hanging out, picking up packs of cards to stream loots, grabbing some merch over at zgfgaming.store, or sending a treat through TreatStream. But for now, thank you so much for joining, everybody, and I bid you the most fondest adieu.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you in a bit, everyone.